It's a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. Today I want to talk to you about a triple heal double tank team. So this team, it's pretty unique, it's pretty strange, and honestly, it's very fun because peanut toppings are getting stronger. Now, when I say this, there's still work to be done to make it perfect and to really get the maximum benefit out of this. But as the statue is leveling up, as we're ascending with even higher stats, it's only raising HP to an even higher amount. So if you look here, we've got almost 500,000 HP from Hollyberry. And that's with the toppings at their current status, which HP could go about another 19% if we were to get perfect substats. If we could get damage resistance higher of another 17%. And if we could get defense higher by another 11%. That would really be the optimal setup for the peanut toppings, because if you have all three set up, then you're going to be tanking so much damage that it will be very hard to break through if you've got a good healing team, which this team does that. Now, yes, technically we do have another tank in front, but Financer will be specifically protecting Cotton Cookie, as Cotton's the highest attacker here. If we did lower the attack a little bit on Cotton, it would be Hollyberry next, but honestly, it's okay that we're protecting one of our back healers, since we need all three healers to be pushing as much healing as possible onto our full team. Hollyberry and Financer will be taking benefit from the Flamingo too, making the HP even higher. Should be raising Hollyberry roughly to about 750,000 HP, and Financer in a pretty healthy determinational field too. And we're also using cooldown for everyone except Hollyberry in this setup as well. So if you need the toppings for how to set that up, that's what we ran. Now, I would, of course, like higher damage resistance on all of the cookies, even with just substats, not necessarily using almonds particularly, but regardless, the team's pretty fun, and it's not even a million power, and it still handles against something like this, which is a meta team. And so I want to show you guys that. They've got the feather, they've got the insignia, so they've got really good healing elements with their back healer as well. They've got high damage potential. They've got the debuff resistance that's going out from Parfait. They've got the weakness from Eclair, but our team is just absolutely shredding away the damage numbers and pushing our team back up there each second. Now they get some really great hits in the criticals from Caramel Arrow combined with Eclair, but yet again, Financer being protecting Cotton, we're keeping Cotton as long as possible, and then the three healers just pushing through. The only one that we may potentially lose is probably Parfait Cookie, but everyone else is being healed so much that it is just continuously dominating the battlefield to where, so we did lose Parfait as I thought, to where we are just continuously containing the battle. Even though they've got high damage numbers, they just couldn't break through. They could not break through. Now, 17 seconds to a stall out, so it did have a chance to be a draw. But as you can see, look at this. Over 5 million damage from all four of their DPS units. And only about 2 million for our three best attackers, because Pomegranate and Parfait just cannot deal much damage. But the healing done. We dished out over 7 million healing from Cotton, mostly boosted thanks to Financer. We got almost 7 million from Pomegranate and over 6 million from Parfait, and even a good healthy 1.7 from Financer. So a tremendous amount of healing, hence countering the amount of damage that they were dishing out. So even though it was a long battle, we were able to just persistently keep the team together and keep everything in check. We will go ahead and fight one more team just to check the overall potential and potency of this team. So this time we're going to be fighting a Sea Fairy battle team. So this one's not much of a speed team, but more of a damage-oriented focus team with cooldowns and criticals. So let's see how they fare against our heavy wall with heavy healing. Looks like they may have a chance to take down Parfait. Parfait is the one that has the least amount of damage resistance on our toppings out of all of our healers, so that would not necessarily surprise me. Yep, and we do still lose Parfait, as I kind of was expecting. But yet again, the rest of our team is just absolutely keeping that healing going forward. Now, they do manage to take out our healers in the back row, and they do take out Financer and Hollyberry. So as you can see, the meta team didn't happen to stand a chance with the speed and everything, but the burst team, they did. Now, what's the difference? Here's the big two differences specifically. They're using pure vanilla for one, so that means they've got shields. We have no shield removal. We have absolutely no shield removal. So that means that they have an advantage for that one reason. And they're using Sea Fairy. So Sea Fairy does the stuns. Every time a stun happens on any of our healers, we're losing healing potential and healing power. And as you can see, we weren't too far away from this battle time of 44 seconds to our other battle, which was 1 minute and 12 seconds. I mean, that basically was the difference between the battle time and what really made that bridge of gap between that healing potential and the healing potency from our team that just wasn't able to be reached from this team. So this is something that would counter something like ours very easily because of the high damage burst and the ability of skills to stop our skills. If they didn't have the skills to stop our skills, we would be able to run through pretty easily. We'll take it against another team. So here they're using Frost Queen and Cotton, but they are running speed. So technically, they should have an advantage because Frost Queen will stop our healing, stop our skills. Cotton does not have shields, so that's in our benefit and that's in our advantage. So we will see if that makes a difference for us dealing damage to them. But yet again, Frost Queen has a heavy hand against our team in this battle. So do watch and see how those freezes affect our full-on team. Now, our healing's still working very well, even after the freeze. Thankfully, it wasn't coupled in coordination with the Fury arrows in those stacks from the critical bursts. This time it is going to be, and we lose Cotton and Parfait. Financer should now be protecting Hollyberry, but in this instance, we're not going to be able to keep them just because of the overall damage resistance. Now, if we go back in, though, and instead of using Flamingo Tube this time, because we know it's a damage burst team, we know that the team is going to be putting out heavy damage and heavy debuffs. We just changed to Monocle, and it should make most of the difference. Won't help us against Frost Queen, but it should definitely help us against Caramel Arrow. And it will provide another healing element. So, if we go back in and we fight, we take the heavy damage from the first hit, and then we survive just long enough for the Monocle to kick off. We've been cleansed of all the debuffs, and now we're kicking back in the fight without too much pressure against our healers just yet. We can survive one more burst through from the Caramel Arrow, but not the Frost Queen. So yet again, anything that can stop our skills, that's going to really be the downfall of this team. So if you want to fight against anyone that just doesn't have burst potential, doesn't have skill stopping potential, you should have a heavy hand. I mean, you saw it with the first team. This team is in technicality, better treasures, better power, better setup. This is a meta team. This is what is currently being ran, and they have that potential. But you don't see anybody stopping skills on a mass team process. Sea Fairy does that. Frost Queen does that. Clotted Cream only takes care of one cookie, not a full team. Caramel Arrow does not take care of a full team, at least not for skill stopping. Wildberry, yet again, you've got some knockback coming from Wildberry, but you're really not getting the skill stops. So as long as our team runs fluidly without being interrupted, you just keep going. So this is not a perfect team, and honestly, the teams I'm covering in the future, they're not going to be perfect teams. They're going to be potential meta teams. Sometimes they just will be meta teams if I know the new ones. Sometimes they'll be counters to the meta teams. I mean, right here, this is a counter to one meta team. But they all have their weak points. And I want to make sure that I explain those things to you guys as well, rather than just only the strengths. Because if you only know the strengths, then when the weak points come, you won't understand why it's being defeated. So I want you to understand why this team is good in certain matchups, very specific and certain ones. But it's also very weak against any skill-stopping teams, which can be built pretty easily, whether it be scam teams, DPS bursts with Sea Fairy and Frost Queen, or just a few others. So do keep that in mind if you do want to build this team, but it's a very fun team, and honestly, it's way out of left field if people are like, they're not going to beat me with that, and then, well, why did they win? Well, they just healed to the absolute oblivion where you couldn't even touch them. and it's just interesting to see that. Either way, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your feedback as always, and I look forward to any comments or thoughts that you have on the team or any changes that you would like to make. I'd love to see it. Maybe you think that if we ran all almonds and complete damage resistance on this entire team, that maybe it would just out-heal everybody and it wouldn't care. It's something we could definitely try and something we could look into when I do acquire more almond toppings, but it just does take time, sadly. Thank you again for coming, and have a wonderful day.